Welcome to Between the Poles, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of the pole community. I'm your host, Caroline. Here, it's not just about the tricks and the spins. It's about the stories, the people, and the connections that make this community so special. Every episode, we sit down with pole artists, studio owners, and inspiring voices to explore their journeys, challenges, and passions. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get real. This is Between the Poles. If you enjoy this podcast episode, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube, where we share behind-the-scenes contents, bonus clips, and more from each episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Between the Poles. Today, I'm sitting with Dan Rosen. I feel like everybody here knows exactly who you are. Social media star, entrepreneur, workshop artist. You do 101 things in the pole community.
I do.
Thank you so much for being on. I'm excited to have you today.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Okay, I start off the podcast the same way with everybody. Can you tell us a little bit, how did you get to pole? How long ago was it? How did you even know that pole existed?
I'll be really honest with you. I find like this question can tend to be like a bit of a boring answer because it's just like it's really nothing that fancy. Like I was at a club, there was poles there, someone was doing pole on it. They told me they went to classes, I went to classes, and that's about it. So it's not like a crazy interesting story really. But that's how I got into it, and literally that's how I started. That was literally how my career started. I started with the competitions, and then competitions went really well for me. I built a name for myself on social media and through competitions. And then I started traveling and teaching, and then I opened my own studio, and then it all kind of like naturally snowballed after that. But so it wasn't like, I know lots of people have like sometimes really interesting stories of how they started. Sometimes they started in the clubs and stuff. Obviously, that wasn't my story, but yeah, mine was the generic sort of like went to a class and here I am kind of thing. So yeah.
I feel like a lot of guests say that, but then I find it fascinating because I'm like, there's so much more behind what you just said. Because I'm like, okay, great, you went to a pole class. You did amazing. Like, you're such a high level. Right from the start, did you just kind of pick it up really easy?
No, actually, a lot of that's why I love showing a lot of the videos of when I first started because even when I was competing, actually, um, it's really funny as well, actually. When I was competing when I first started, I look back at those videos and I think, God knows how I won stuff then. But pole was so different then. It wasn't at the level it is now. Um, I've just like adapted as the industry has grown. Like, when I started and stuff, like we were only really doing kind of like higher intermediate moves. Like that was really there wasn't many big advanced moves back then. And then just as obviously the industry's grown, we've had all these crazy tricks sort of added to the syllabus, if that's what we want to call it. So yeah, and it's like it was so different back then. So that I feel like as the industry's grown, I've grown. And yeah, but I've got no sort of like gymnastic or anything like that background. Although it's really funny because I always say to people that I think I would have been really good at gymnastics. I feel like my body would have liked it as a
Yeah.
kid. But I didn't. My mum was a single mum. She wouldn't have been able to afford to put both me and my brother into like gymnastics or anything like that. So yeah, I just never really did anything like that, I guess. So yeah.
Why did you decide to compete?
I'm just a competitive person. I just like to challenge myself. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm a competitive person. I think if I'm being really honest, I think the reason why I competed and also why I push myself so much on social media, um, and this gets a little bit deep, but like I think actually it goes back more to like when I was in school, I was bullied really badly for being gay. And I think when you've had a trauma like that as a child, you seek a validation from strangers. And without therapy, you don't realize that that's what you're doing. And it's only really post all of that happening that I've since had therapy and like realized how traumatic my childhood was. That I was like, God, maybe this is why I was like desperate to win everything, desperate for like that validation. So yeah, that's probably not the answer you thought I was going to say, but I genuinely think that's what it is. And actually, I'd even go as far as to say I think that's genuinely why a lot of famous pole dancers or famous people become who they are because they're proving a point to people, I think. Do you know what I mean? Because
I do.
I think people who are like really comfortable in themselves, they have no want for that. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got
Yeah.
friends who lived normal school lives. They were maybe not popular, but they weren't unpopular. Like they had nice childhoods, they had great upbringings, they have a wife, kids, and they're just super chilled. They love their lives and they aren't super rich, they aren't super famous, but they don't need any validation from strangers. They aren't on social media. And I think when I look at some of my friends like that, I think there must be a connection between that because I'm like, you had like an untraumatic childhood.
Yeah.
Like, why are you not seeking validation from strangers? What's wrong with you? But it's true. Like, I
He's so
find,
healthy and normal.
right, I know. I find that stuff fascinating now. I think that, yeah, there is a lot of connection to that. I'm sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everyone who becomes a famous actor or an actress has trauma. I'm not definitely not saying that. Same with pole dancers. I'm sure there's lots of pole dancers who just were very, very talented. But I think there is a lot to say for some people who have had success that they're trying to prove something to someone. And I think mine was trying to really have a fuck you to like the bullies from school. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I now look at, I think originally, like, again, pre-therapy, I never used to feel sorry for anyone that did those things to me. I used to be like, yeah, fuck you. Look at your life now. Look at mine. And now I'm like, actually, I'm really sad for them because like that must have been horrible for them actually, because they would have had a reason to have done that. And I know that one of the kids that bullied me actually came out shortly after that he'd had a really traumatic childhood with his family. Like some of his like one of his parents, I can't remember which one, was in prison and stuff. And you think like, God, there's so much as well to that, isn't there? Like why people are bullies, why people are bullied, and why they then go on to lead certain lives. And I find stuff like that fascinating. Sorry, that totally went off track.
I love it. And
That-
then I was gonna ask you a question. Usually like the podcast kind of has the same like flow for everybody, but I'm so interested in what you just said. So here's kind of like a random question. Because you say like, oh, I wanted to prove people kind of like what I was made of and what I was. Do you feel like sometimes the pendulum swings the other way? How do you react when people are angry with you on social? And we'll get to it because like you're quite controversial online sometimes.
Me? Controversial? How dare you? Not
But
at
if
all.
you seek kind of validation or seeing how like far you've made it in this industry and that kind of gives you that push, how do you feel when it goes the other way and you're like riding a shitstorm for a moment or something like that?
Oh, listen, I've been cancelled more times than you could possibly imagine. I think the thing is as well is that it's a really difficult one because, you know, I'm opinionated. I've always been an opinionated person.
What?
Yeah, I
You?
know. Me, opinionated, who knew? But like, I've always been opinionated. I've always wanted to seek justice for people where needed. But like, and again, I think that comes from, again, like my childhood. Like, I would never have spoken up to people when I was a kid. Never. I was too scared. Like, I was too scared. I was being bullied. I would just like take it. I would never fight back. And I think in my adult life, I was just like, I'm absolutely fucking not gonna take any shit from anyone. I'm not because I'm an adult now. Like, I'm not gonna allow that. And I still don't. Like, you know, I still won't. Like, we've got a lot of people in the industry that love arguing for the sake of arguing.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that change I definitely noticed. I don't know about anyone else. I noticed that change for sure. COVID and post-COVID. But pre-COVID, sure, people were maybe arguing and stuff, but nowhere near as much as now. Like, people are just miserable. I know it sounds terrible, but like, you have to be in a, you have to be in a place of hurt and in a place of I don't know, I can't think of the word, but like you have to be in a bad place to really want to like tear people down. And the only reason why I know that is because, again, pre-therapy and pre like really trying to work out where these emotions in me was coming from, I used to do that. So I don't, how long have you followed me for? Have you followed me for like,
Well, now you're gonna put me on the spot. I'm gonna look like a creep. You're the first person I ever followed when I started my pole.
oh, I love that.
Do you know how I found you?
Oh, go on. Susan videos.
I was gonna
Oh.
say you in a wig,
Wow.
going Susan.
Me in
and
a
for
wig.
people that don't know, it was the best. I am rooting for Susan to come back.
But do you know
I
the
love
reason why?
Rosen.
But the reason I don't is because the industry has changed so much that
Really? Would you
people,
get shit for that?
of course,
Why?
people actually still attack me for the videos I used to do as her, even though I don't do them anymore. People still say, "Oh, he used to dress as a woman. He's not trans and stuff." And I'm like, it ain't that deep. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's the whole point is I'm just supposed to look like a pole student. I'm not trying to impersonate someone who's transgender. Do you know what I mean? And you know when you just think, I feel like that's such a stretch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just sort of think, I don't want the shit because to be honest, I just don't have the energy for it. I don't have time for it. I'm so busy that I just don't have the time to be arguing with people on the internet.
I'm kind of surprised that you got shit for that. Like, I understand what they're saying, but I just thought it was really fucking funny. Like, it was just a
Right.
breath of like fresh air, right?
The whole point of it was to take the piss out of what we do, as me too, me included.
Yeah.
But you know, again, it's like the criticism was like, you know, the whole like he's impersonating being a woman, he's being mean about students. I'm a student too. Like I've done all of those things. That's the only reason I know how to make jokes about them. It's because I've done them all.
And I'm like, do you know what I tell my students?
Mm,
Maybe this gets me in shit. I'm like, the longer you pull, the harsher your teacher's gonna be on you.
yeah.
And I'm like, when I come to the studio as a student, I don't want the teacher to give me shit. I want to be made. I want to be like, I want to feel part of the group. We all crack jokes at each other and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But it's said with love and like it's just a way that we like tease each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's how I took those videos that you were making. And yeah, I saw a lot of myself, especially because I was like a baby polar. I was like, yes, I only do one side. Yes, I complain all class, like every class. And I loved it. So that's how I found you.
I think the thing as well is that you have to make everything like whenever people like are getting hate online, and I see because now I try to sort of sit back and kind of just watch because I just hate being involved in it now. Whereas back when I was in my messy era, I would love to get involved in it. Whereas now I kind of just sit back and watch. But I normally reach out to the person who's being attacked, and I just say to them like, just bear in mind that A, this is only going to last for probably 48 hours and they're going to forget about you because that's always what happens. But I always say to them that so long as the majority of the people who follow you are supporting you, it doesn't matter what a few people think. It just, in the moment when people are coming for you online, you feel like everyone's coming for you, but actually it couldn't be further from the truth. Like, when you consider like, I mean, what if on my Insta I've got like 110,000 followers or whatever it is, and then of those 110,000 followers, how many of them are the people like kicking off about it? It's not even 1% of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, well, if I was genuinely doing something wrong, people who follow me and support me would reach out and they'd be like, damn, that's a no-go. Like you can't do jokes about that, or you can't say this, say that. So that's the way I base it because a lot of the time that it's really funny. It's not even just me. Like a lot of the time that people do get cancelled online, or they do have people kick back at them, it's always from the same part of our community. Um,
Yeah.
so, and I just think, okay, it is what it is. It's that same people again, you know. So I just don't take offense to it because I just think like I'm not gonna take offense to people that I have no respect for, people I don't know, I've never met in my life. That's the funniest thing as well, is like I remember my therapist saying to me once, she was like, how many times have you met these people? I was like, I've literally never met them. She's like, why on earth do you care about what they don't even know who you are? I'm like, yeah, actually, I remember thinking like, fuck, that's a really great way to think about it. Like, and the lightness is, I'm never ever going to meet them because they're not going to the same events that I go to. We're not doing the same jobs. Like, we're never going to meet each other. Literally, in our lifetimes, we're probably going to die and never have met each other.
You know what? That's where I kind of disagree. Because if they're people from the pole community, I'm like, if you were in their city doing workshops,
Yeah.
I have a feeling they probably would take it and act like nothing ever happened.
But well, I would never know though. That's what I mean.
I guess,
But I'd
yeah.
never know who they were. Do you know what I mean? It's the whole thing. And great. Like, I hope they do. Like, I feel as well like sometimes as well the people that do it, are people that have taken classes with me before. They, you know, take or they like come to my classes online, or they've been a student of mine, or they've, you know, hung out with me before. And sometimes I'll see it and I'll be like, I think I recognize that person. I'm like, do I know? You know, when you're just like, that's weird. I didn't think that of them. That's really odd. Okay. You got to take it with a pinch of salt. Like when you're like me and you're the type of person that won't just like is willing to add to a conversation and discuss important topics, you're going to get kickback. You're always going to get kickback. The thing is that I could easily be like uncontroversial, zero opinions, and have everyone love me. But that is not my dream. I don't want to be that person because it feels wrong. Morally, it feels wrong to me. I feel like if something is happening in the industry, like when the whole Anastasia Sokolova thing happened, do you remember that? When she was like she'd done something quite homophobic. I won't go into like
Oh
major
yeah,
detail,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that there was like she'd said something homophobic. And I said nothing on it at first because I thought she'll probably apologize and say, oh, it was a mistake or whatever. And then when she didn't, then I chimed in. And of course, like with everything, this is the thing as well, is that on the internet, you know, homophobia, you'd think that would be a blanket absolute no-go, wouldn't you? No. This is the funny thing. People were defending her. That's the weirdest part, is that it doesn't matter what you argue. Literally as well, like, again, like there was a pole dance. Again, I won't say names because I don't want people going and searching for people, but like there was a famous pole dancer who accused another famous pole dancer of abuse. And everyone was posting about him and talking about him and
Oh, I saw
stuff.
that. Yeah.
And the thing is, there was also people defending him, and you would think that the abuse at that level, and he was accused by a lot of people, not just her. She was just the first one to speak up, and a load of other people spoke up. A lot of people were defending him, and this is how the internet works. You could literally murder someone. There'll be someone out there who will try and defend you and be like, "Oh, well, actually,
He had reason
he
for it.
had
Yeah.
reason because she did this." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the world we live in. And I've just realized that now, and I just unless it's like if someone that I had respect for messaged me and said, Dan, I think like that's not good. That's a no-go. I think you've done something wrong here. That's when I would worry. But that's never happened. Literally my whole
That was
career.
gonna be my question. Do
Yeah.
you feel at some point you said something or did something and you're like, you know what? Thinking back, maybe that wasn't my best.
Oh, yeah, no, I have had that. I have had that where before even anyone's told me, I've thought, I shouldn't have done that. Um, yeah, many times. Never anything massive, nothing big. Um, and it's like, yeah, going back, I've had so many little instances and so many slip ups with choices that I've made within the industry. But lots of different things, like even like, you know, the Susan thing or Tuesday Topics. Like I look back at Tuesday Topics and I think,
I enjoyed Tuesday topics. Pros
so
and
did I.
cons, though.
Right. So I enjoyed Tuesday Topics until a point, and then I feel like I went in a bad direction with it.
It got
And that was
dramatic.
my fault. Yeah, it got dramatic, and I will be honest, I was engagement farming. Do you know what? I'm actually saying that because someone said that the other day, and I found that so funny. Engagement farming. I was like, that's such a funny word for it.
What does that even
It
mean?
basically, I think they were trying to say like you're using this as an excuse to get engagement on your page, which, not being funny, that's what we all do. That's how social media works, babe. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think that I'll be honest. Like I feel like I was trying my hardest to use Tuesday Topic as uh, a generator of engagement to bring people to the page, because at the time we sold stuff on Polols. So it's like if I get more people to my page, more people go to my shop, more people buy, I can make more money. And we should talk about that. We should talk about making money and why people hate that.
Okay, I want to kind of get into it because I was gonna say one, I really appreciate, like you said, like you put a lot of conversations online, which I love, but there's also, I feel like, no limits. It's not like
Cheers, guys.
it's not like you're like, okay, I'm gonna go all into that and then I will refuse to answer any question on this topic. You're pretty open on the
Yeah.
internet, which I really appreciate. But then
Well, because that would be arrogant. That's the
wouldn't
thing. It's
it?
like if people are going to oppose your opinion and then you won't discuss it, that's arrogance. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm happy, and I'm also happy to be corrected. As much as people don't think I am, I am happy to be corrected. And many times I have corrected myself and be like, oh, great, I've learned something today. Like,
Yeah.
but I have to agree with it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, it has to make sense to me. Because if it doesn't, I'm not just going to blindly agree to you just because I feel intimidated by you.
And I will say this. I highly doubt that if you're watching my small podcast, you're one of the internet trolls. But you writing horrendous things under somebody to like debate your point will not make them change their idea.
Mm-mm.
They're gonna change and view your point of view if it's coming from a point of love and a
Yeah.
point of like respect. Then writing horrendous thing, and I'm like, what do you think this comment just did? Like nothing. You just like look stupid and like hateful.
Yeah. The thing is that it doesn't matter what you do. If someone really dislikes you, they'll find something that you've done wrong in something. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, even just recently, one of my posts, I always try to post educational content or try to post like almost like Tuesday topics where we can discuss stuff, but I try to keep it as uncontroversial as possible. But and one of them was talking about like, origins of pole, like pole dancing was originated by black sex workers, like, and someone then came onto the comments and was like, "Oh, you're appropriating sex workers." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, did you read what I wrote? Like, I
Yeah.
literally fucking wrote that. It was on the main text. So you just think you are just here to troll me at this
Yeah.
point because if you'd read it, you'd see I've literally the first people I've credited were black, like sex workers of color. Like, I know where it comes from. Like,
Yeah.
I've fucking been doing it long enough, and I fight so much for the anti, like, this sort of like hashtag not a stripper thing. I fucking hate that.
Yeah.
When anyone, even when it comes from a good place, tries to do the whole, oh no, it originated in Chinese poem, like
I hate that.
slapped around the face. No, it
Yeah.
did not. Because I'm just like, what we do does not come from that. Does some forms of pole come from that? Maybe, but not what we do.
Yeah.
They weren't fucking wearing pleasers on Chinese poles, honey. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing. So, and then what I like to try and do is I like to try and, rather than being really harsh about it, I like to try and make light of it. So then I got like a picture of like a Chinese pole dancer and put like pleasers on him and stuff because I found it like it would make people laugh and it kind of lightens the mood a little bit. But again, some people get offended by that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're just like, they want to be offended by everything. But you can't do anything about that.
I was gonna give you whiplash actually because I love what we're discussing, but you're so much more than a pole artist and a social media content because you're an entrepreneur. And I wanted to
Right.
ask you, how did Polo start? Because you were selling merch and all that. How did you even think of starting that page? When did you kind of were like, okay, I could actually make this into a business venture? Because I do
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit because lately you've been really open online about like pole and finance and all of that, and we'll slowly get to that too.
Yeah.
But in your case, so you started teaching workshops and stuff like that. So you started making money out of pole.
Yeah, so the first thing was like starting pole, opened a studio, started making money through my own studio. And the reason I had to do that was because there was no studio where I actually lived, and I was traveling quite far to go to my friend's studio. So I opened my own studio, which was for me to train. So I didn't make any money from it at first. Then people were like, "Oh, we want to do some classes." So now I do some private group private classes, and that slowly developed into becoming a studio. And then that was
Which
my
you
first,
sold recently,
which I
right?
sold recently, but because I just don't have the time for it anymore. But still going, and it's owned now by one of my longest students and instructors, Karen. She's an absolute babe. So that's still going, but that was my first kind of form of income was from that. Then it was workshops, traveling teaching workshops because I was being offered them because I was competing.
Yeah.
And then polos was born because I've always had the want to make people laugh. And I think again, if we wanted to think deeply about it, again, I've had so many conversations with my therapist about this. This comes from the want to be accepted by people that I don't know. Trying to, like, again, when I was younger, I was always trying to make people laugh because it was the only way that avoided me being the target because they were like, oh, he's funny actually, like let's leave him alone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was always trying to make people laugh. It's funny actually because lots of comedians make jokes about the fact that the only reason they're funny is because they've got trauma. So that was then like, then it was like, yeah, workshops. Then I was making funny content, which wasn't making me any money, but it was kind of clogging up my personal page. So I was like, right, let's make a separate page. So I made Polos, which annoyingly has more followers than I have now. So then we have Polos. And then me and my husband got engaged and we were like, we want to get married. And we needed to make some extra money because we were like, how the fuck are we going to pay for this wedding? So then we were like, I'll sell some Susan merch because at the time Susan was like the big thing, the whole Susan.
Susan had main character energy.
She did.
Susan was the light of my page. When I opened up my account, I'm like, oh, Susan represented so many of us. I feel.
Right, yeah, Susan was all of us, to be honest. Like, and yeah, so I basically made a separate page for the Susan content, for the memes and all the funny stuff that I like to post. So then, when we decided to get married and we decided to like raise funds through merch, we basically made the merch in the UK at our house. So we printed it ourselves and stuff, and then we sold it to people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it did really, really good. And the only reason we don't do it anymore is because when the UK left the EU, it basically worked out that it was just way too expensive for people to buy.
I was going to say it changed a couple
import tax and stuff. Yeah. So it wasn't worth it. So then we changed it to like a print on demand company. But we were making nothing from it. It literally, like, per t-shirt, we'd make like a few dollars, for example. It's like, we were like, this just is just not worth it. So we're like, right, we're just going to close it down. And who knows, maybe I'll restart something up again because obviously I'm moving to Dubai soon, so that will change a lot of stuff as well. So maybe it'll be possible to restart it because, you know, I've paid for all the designs and stuff, so it's like I've got them all. I should really use them for something. So yeah, that's maybe a future project, but that was the next sort of form of income. And then, yeah, online kicked off during COVID. That became another stream of income.
That really changed the industry. So many of the guests
Online.
I've had the podcast say like their page blew up during COVID because everybody was trying to pull at home. They wanted kind of tutorials and stuff like that. Some people were really good. You're one of them. Monetizing, like, okay, I can actually do something online, which really, for a lot of pole artists, opens the door to like, okay, I can actually make a good living out of this.
Right.
So can you tell us, because Dan, for people that don't know, I assume, you know, if you're watching an hour of people talking about, oh, you better fucking know who Dan is.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, you're learning about me now, so
go.
that's good, I guess.
I feel like you own the biggest online platform for
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
tutorials or like conditioning.
I don't know if it's the biggest. I know it's one of the biggest.
I was going to say,
it must be
sure
one of the biggest,
if not the biggest, and it's called the Pole Destroyers.
Yeah, check it out, the Pole Destroyers.
I'll put it in the caption, as always. But how did that come about?
Well, that came about from COVID, obviously. So originally, with COVID, I was teaching online, but I was just teaching online through my studio. And then that kind of like kicked off because it basically opened up classes to everyone from around the world. And it's funny actually because that also was a great benefit to me and all the other people who had really worked on building our followers for years. It was that one time that I remember saying to my husband, I was like, finally, like all of this work that I've done for like making this name for myself online, it's actually paying off with something because like now I'm actually able to monetize it. I was like, I knew this was going to pay off at some point. I just didn't know how. And it did that. And I was like, wow. The only thing was, whilst that was great for us and all of the like famous pole dancers, there was a lot of studios that were really pissed about that because it meant all their students were coming to our classes and not going to their studio classes, right? So that was a little bit awkward, but at the same time they couldn't really attack us for it because it's up to the students where they spend their money, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that then I did during I think it was the first lockdown, like halfway through it or whatever. It was December. I was really miserable. I was in like a bit of a depression at the time. I had gained lots of weight because when I get stressed or whatever I eat, it's just my thing. I'm an eater. Like I will eat when I'm stressed. So you'll always know how I'm doing in life based on what size I am. So if I'm in really good shape, I'm normally at the happiest point. And then when I'm big, I'm normally like, I'm not necessarily miserable, but maybe I'm stressed or something's happening. Like at the moment,
there's things in the background going on. And
Yeah.
you're busy, like mentally.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Like at the moment, it was like we've got such a massive change with moving to a different country. Like it's just so much stuff to think about, and through the stress of that and the worry of like moving and leaving our family and stuff, I've just like ate my feelings. It is what it is. But I go up and down in my diet anyway.
Yeah.
I've always been like that. But oh my God, I've totally lost track of where I was. What were we saying?
Pole destroyer.
Yeah. So then the Pole Destroyers was created because at that point when I was like depressed and stuff, I basically said to myself, like, I literally post online, I just put, hey, is anyone interested in doing conditioning with me every day for 31 days in January? Let's do it like a little group of us. And then 10,000 people later, that Facebook group, 10,000 of us in it, and hundreds of people were doing it with me. And like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the best quality, but obviously it was free. Like, some of it, like, I tried to do it on Facebook Live, but it wouldn't work. So I had to change to Zoom, and I didn't have like, I couldn't pay for a Zoom subscription because that many people wouldn't fit into a Zoom without paying hundreds of dollars. And another business I knew was like, we'll let you use our Zoom. But it all worked out in the end. And yeah, and then I thought, "Do you know what? I'm going to record all of these classes because then I could maybe sell them later down the line." Um, yeah, I always have in the back of my mind, I'm always like, how could I monetize this? And if I'm being honest with you, it makes me worried and scared for other people that don't think about that because, for a long time, I think less now actually, but more so when I first started kind of really making money from pole. I think a lot of people were like, oh, Dan just wants the money. He's so focused on money. And the thing is, I always say to these people, I'm like, you should be more focused on money because what's your plan long term? Like, what are you going to do once you're not touring anymore? Once you're not teaching online anymore? Once you're not able to do this anymore? Because we can't do this forever. Let's be honest. It's not like a job that you can do into your 70s, 80s, like retirement age, is it realistically? And whilst you could, if you owned a studio and you were just teaching maybe a beginner level, it's not going to be to the same as what we're making now, like, touring artists and stuff. So my focus has always been on like, how can I maintain that and how can I secure my future? So that's where investing my money has always been like super important. Like,
Which I love because I saw a couple of your stories recently, and I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like, we don't work for companies. Like, if like you live off of pole and you're barely making it and you're not putting anything in retirement, like, you're not going to have a pension plan. You have to take care of that yourself. So you should be thinking, like, how can I increase my income a little bit so I can put money aside for later days? Because you're so right. We're not going to be able to do this forever.
right.
Pole is so physically demanding.
Yeah.
You have to have like a plan on how to like slowly retire out of doing workshops or teaching really high levels or stuff like that, right?
It's funny as well, actually, because someone was talking to me about this the other day. They were like, well, is it not like gymnastics where you just will become a coach? I don't know why, but we don't really have that.
People expect you to show
To
it.
show, yeah, which is so weird. But I think the only reason I think we have that is because in gymnastics they kind of have like a set lot of moves, right, that they teach the kids,
Yeah.
and then they normally have kids that had already done that move that they can use to demo and show the other kids, and then those kids learn, they show the next kids, and they show the next kids, and like the instructors will talk them through and spot them through it. I do think that now we're starting to get to a point where the moves are settling down in terms of like we're not really getting any big new moves anymore. So now that we're starting to get a set of like moves that we mainly use with small variations here and there, I think soon it will be a case of I think maybe by the age that I'm ready to become a coach, I probably could do that. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know if it's what I want to do. And that's really like, I don't know, that sounds really bad. It's not that I hate pole. It's just that I don't know if that's where I see my future. I love performing and I love doing pole at the level I'm doing it now. But I think to just become a coach would probably make me feel quite sad and depressed.
I have a question for you then, and it's going to put you in the hot seat. For sure, you started pole out of a love of pole.
Yeah.
Now that you're doing so well on the business side, do you feel that slowly you're loving this more for the business? Because I have to admit, like, I'm not an amazing polar, and I don't say that for people to be like, no, you're great. No, I'm not. Like, I will never do like insane shit, and I'm happy with that. I'm more than content with that.
Right.
I really enjoy owning a studio. I really enjoy owning a business and managing that. Do you feel like your love of business
For sure.
is growing? And at
Yeah,
some point, maybe, yeah, maybe Paul, you still love it, but maybe you're like, I love business more.
absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I think, yeah, I think my passion is not even it's funny, it's not even necessarily making the money from business. It's actually about running a successful business
Yes.
and seeing how I can grow it. That's like it's really addictive because like when you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like I've managed to get this many students online now. I wonder if I can get this many students. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yes.
how can I push my business to this next level? It's just like a challenge. And my dad's an entrepreneur as well. So like he's got businesses and he's done very, very well for himself. And I've always been really inspired by that. Like whenever he's like bought property or whatever and he'd done all these things with his money, I thought, oh God, I want to do that one day. So yeah, I think it definitely is like a passion to be in business. So I think like one of the focuses for the future is to sort of like see if I can think of a business that will be like not pole related would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Not a priority for me at the moment, but like, yeah, because I enjoy working with pole dancers. I'm at an age and fitness level where I can still do that, and I have a feeling I'll be able to do that for. I reckon I can squeeze at least another 20 years out of my body.
20 years?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for 20. So it's just like, yeah, because I mean, I've gotten to this point at the moment where I'm like, I don't really have any major injuries. I've got a knee injury from skiing, but like nothing really from pole. My shoulders are really good now. I cross train. Like I feel like I'm in a good space. I'm still teaching to a high enough level that people still want to learn like a lot of stuff from me. So I'm like, if I can maintain this like for as long as possible,
For
like
yourself as an athlete, then, right now, are you more like, are you chasing the next big crazy trick, or are you like, I want to maintain the level I have, and I'm
yeah.
happy to stay at is that
I
more it?
think the more and more as years go by, I've noticed that I'm less focused on big tricks, not because I don't want to do them, I'd love to. It's because there is the fear of injuring myself. An injury means no body. No body means no income.
Yeah.
And that's what pays my bills, right? So it's that whole thing of like, and it's not just about like, oh, I love money so much. It's about, well, actually, we've all got to love money to a certain extent because we have to pay bills, right? And if I don't have my body, I don't have any income. So it's that worry. So it's that whole thing of like, I got to look after my body. We've all got to look after our bodies.
Yes.
Even people who aren't teachers, like we all want to look after our bodies,
I
right?
feel you're pretty honest about that on social media too,
Yeah.
because I remember a while ago seeing, I say that I think last week, because you've been talking about this for a
I
while.
literally talked about it the other day.
Because
Yeah.
you're like longevity in this. I see so many people rise to fame doing crazy things and then they just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what have you become? Like, what has happened? And I think probably, yeah, they're not thinking like, okay, if I pace myself, if I treat my body well, if I build this in a like realistic manner,
Mm.
they could make like a living off of this for like
Yeah.
years. And maybe you're the first one to like retire out of this.
Maybe. Oh God, I hope so. It's really funny. I feel like as an industry, we don't talk enough about money. We don't talk enough about longevity and about what you're going to do after this. And inevitably, it means that we're going to have a load of people that will be retired struggling for money because they didn't set anything up.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely not going to be that person. I refuse to. And if that means people are going to call me money hungry, so be it. I couldn't give a fuck. Like, because I'm just like, it's not about being money hungry. It's about being like
Smart with your
it's
money.
being
It's
smart.
about
This is
thinking
it.
of the future and setting yourself up for success.
When people do the maths, I think the issue is that people do the maths and they work out how much I make, right? And the thing is, because that sounds like such a large amount of money to them, they think, well, I'd love to make that a year. But what they don't think of is like, yeah, okay, let's say for example I made 100,000 a year, right? That sounds amazing. So you've got like 100,000. However, someone's career, like in an office job, might last until they're 60, 70, right? Mine might not last as long as that. So that 100 is going to be split over all of those years. So actually, it probably will only work out to like 30, 40,000 a year, which is a reasonable amount. But they hear the 100 and they think, oh God, that's ridiculous. Why is he making so much money? But what they should be thinking of is, oh wow, maybe he's investing that money and he's going to then utilize that income. Do you know what I
I also
mean?
feel like a lot of people that pull, they're just not just, but they're students, right? They do this as a hobby.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I feel like now that I have a studio, like, okay, there's 9 students in here. We're all paying this much for a class.
Yes.
Caro is like rolling in money. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, do you know how much rent is, how much payroll is? I have to pay for utilities. I have to, like, there's so much about that. And then a lot of people that travel like you do and all that, you're not part of a corporation. No one's putting pension away for you. You don't get paid vacation. That's on your own dime, right?
Right.
You don't have health benefits and insurance. If you want to seek that out, it has to come from
You
your
have to pay
pocket.
yourself, yeah.
But like people don't realize that. And like, yeah, 100,000 might sound amazing. How much of that do you actually keep is the question. And
Yeah.
you're trying to, and I tell this to everybody because I love that poll is not woman exclusive, but woman led and a lot
Absolutely.
like of woman, right? I love that I get to chit chat with people that are 20. And I'm like, listen, start investing young. You won't have to do a lot. You're in your
Get a
prime
pension
years.
now. Get a pension
Yes.
now.
And then like try to, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. You're gonna get this job at 100,000. Good job, babe. How much of that can you keep? If you're changing your car every 2 years and you're just like spending an insane amount of money, how much you make doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
how much you keep.
But the thing is, in a normal job, that would never be a discussion.
I know.
Because it's like, my husband, for example, like his job, he can do that for the rest of his life. Like, I always make this joke, like, if I get hit by a bus and break my leg, I can't work. If he gets hit by a bus and breaks his leg, he'll just be on crutches at work. That's it. He's sitting in a chair all day. Like,
Yeah.
he's an office worker. He's a manager. Like, he doesn't need to do anything physical. Yeah, sure, it's going to limit him being able to walk around, like, the workplace or whatever. He can still work.
Yeah.
He's still going to receive an income. He's still having his pension paid. Like, it's so different. And that's why we need to be discussing money differently in the industry. And the studio thing is funny because when I when I sold my studio just recently, I felt in a position where I could talk more about it. Because when you're a studio owner, you don't want to talk about money because you don't want your students to be like, oh, like, that's how much he makes and stuff. And I used to always feel like I couldn't talk about it. But once I'd sold it, I was like, I want to make this post because I don't think students understand how much the expenses work out to. And then once you've taken off all those expenses, then you take off tax, corporate, and in the UK as well, it's like you take off corporation tax, then you pay that money to yourself and you pay personal tax.
Same here.
There's fuck all left. Like, seriously, there's no, like, I don't think people realize. And this is why as well, controversial subject, but like I don't know what your policy is here, but loads of studios now are doing this like one person per poll. I genuinely cannot understand how studios can afford to do that. Maybe here it's different because maybe people have more money to pay for poll, but like in the UK, like people won't pay more than sort of like, I don't know, £15 for like a one-off class, right? Which is, I don't know what that is in dollars, but trust me, it's nothing. And if you were to base that off of a class with just like 6 polls or 8 polls, which is the average in most studios in the UK, because we don't have big studios like you do here, that's nothing. Like, and if you're only doing 2 or 3 classes a night, again, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, wow, like, COVID, like, I always make a joke and say, like, COVID spoiled us because everyone was having like 1 poll per person. And then so many studios felt that they couldn't go back to having 2 per poll because students were like, well, I'm just going to go to the other studio that's still doing 1 per poll.
Yeah.
And it basically put people in an awkward position. Luckily in the UK, it is still 2 per poll because let me tell you that most studios in the UK would not survive for 1 per poll because they can't afford to charge more per person, but at the same time, they just absolutely could not afford like to have less than 2 in each because we don't have the room. Like,
Yeah.
how many polls do you have in here?
I have 9 poles. I
Right.
have a big studio, by the way. For viewers and listeners, I always say like, oh, I own a pole studio. I'm very lucky. There's a lot of space. Like there's 8 feet between each pole. I have 9 pole. There's 8 feet between the poles and the walls on
Yeah.
either side. And I have a sofa and stuff like that. I live in like a countryside. There is space out here.
Right.
But I get that if you're in a city, space is very
But when I was
limited.
in Edmonton, like, do you know Aradia, Edmonton? Like, Chantel, like, her studio is massive, like, huge. She's got so many poles in there. We don't have spaces like that in the
Yeah.
UK. I mean, we do. There's one up north owned by my friend Deb. It's called British Pole Dance Academy, I believe, and hers is huge. But the further north you go, the cheaper the property is. But the problem is the further north you go, the cheaper the cost of classes are. So it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the property's cheaper, but you can't charge as much. So
I
it's
feel in Canada we have different problems. Everything costs so much that the cost per class is higher,
right.
but the rent is
It's
just
insane.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
I live like in the middle of nowhere, and rent would make people cry. So if you come to my studio, don't think I'm just bawling. Rent is expensive. Payroll. I pay my teacher a decent wage, and that was a priority for me as a business owner. That's also a massive expense that people don't really take into account when they
Right.
just show up to a class and see that the class is full. They're like, she must be doing really well. Like there's so much more that goes into that. I'm excited for you to talk more about like finance on your social media. And I know you're thinking about doing like a series about it or like something or a
Yeah, well, like,
stories or something about it.
I just feel like financial like literacy, I guess,
Mhm.
within the pole community is something that no one is really willing to discuss, whereas I am. I grew up in like a Jewish family, so where we kind of were all talking about Jews are like people always take the piss that Jews are like super like careful with money. It's very, very true. Like my granddad and my dad have always been super hot on like what they spend their money on and stuff. So I've always been brought up around, you know, be careful with money, like don't gamble your money, like kind of all this sort of stuff. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a course that isn't going to teach people about financial literacy as such, but it's going to teach people how they can monetize something they love so much.
Yeah.
Because in the age of like, you know, 2025, where one job sometimes is not enough to even pay your bills, you might need a side hustle, and maybe teaching online, maybe teaching workshops, maybe teaching at a studio is going to be, you know, something that you need to do. So yeah, look out for that because that is coming soon. It's going to be called the Polepreneur course with Dan Rosen. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be like it's going to be like a PDF, like ebook, which people can download, which is going to be super cheap, so that people can get at least the basis to try it on their own if they can't afford proper coaching. But then there's going to be like one-on-one coaching cohorts, which are going to be for like people who really want to go in
Yeah.
on their specific, like, you know how we all kind of have our own thing?
Yes.
Like mine's kind of like a bit of humor, tricks, and all that. It'll be like trying to find what people's niches are and trying to really see how we can like maximize what they do and try and help them promote that. Because the thing is the hardest part about getting your name out there is being good at social media, being
Yeah.
good at putting your name out there. It's so hard to do. And a lot of people just aren't confident with it. So I want to help them be confident with it because you just got to start. And sometimes it's just having someone kick you in the butt and be like, fucking do it.
I love that.
So I'm going to do that for you.
And on that big announcement, I will not take any more of your time. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I will leave Dan's info in the caption. As always, make sure you're giving him a big follow. And thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Poles. If you love this episode, be sure to hit follow and leave us a review. It helps more pole lovers find the show. And for exclusive bonus content, behind-the-scene footage, and extra pole goodness, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and keep spinning your story. This was Between the Poles.